Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. This is our second show in a series of shows on familiarizing residents of certain municipalities with their candidates. November 5th is Election Day. Last week, we were privileged to have on the candidates for town office in Southern Pines and Pinehurst. And today we're going to be speaking with candidates in Aberdeen and candidates in Whispering Pines. We want each candidate to have an opportunity to sort of give a Cliff Notes version of their positions, their inspirations, their overview, their big picture view of what they hope to achieve, and their affiliation with the towns that they're running in and living in. This morning we're going to start with some of the Board of Commissioner candidates in Aberdeen. There are 4 candidates running for 3 seats, and there is 1 incumbent. We're going to start this morning by speaking with Teresa Beavers, who is a second grade teacher at Sandhills Classical Christian School, and we just had a show with the school 2 weeks ago, and you guys had an open house, and being a second grade teacher must test your patience, huh?
Sure, it does, but I enjoy teaching. I love teaching children. That's my passion.
Yeah.
I've done that for over 30 plus years now.
Have you?
Yeah.
We just wanted to get as good of an overview what your motivation is for running, your inspiration, things that you hope to achieve. Because in Aberdeen, they're not referred to as town council members; they're board of commissioners. So it's set up a little bit differently.
Right. Well, basically, I moved to Moore County. Going on 4 years now. My husband and I came to the area because I grew up just down the road in Richmond County. So I've been coming to Aberdeen and shopping here, went to church here as a young child. So I'm very familiar with the Sandhill area. So I feel like I am a daughter of the Sandhills, even though I didn't grow up in Aberdeen. Certainly I'm familiar with the area. My husband and I came here to golf, and so that was a big draw for us to come to the cultural venues that are here in Moore County, and especially into Aberdeen. I decided that Aberdeen was where I wanted to live because it's not far from where my parents getting into the Richmond County area, and it's a growing area. So we do a lot of golfing when we have free time. I retired from the public school system after 31 years and then decided to have a second career back in the school, in a private school at Sandhills Classical Christian School, which I have enjoyed for the last 3 years. And so I felt like running for the town board was something that I would enjoy doing, and I have been involved in a local small board, town board, the ABC board, for about a year now. It's given me a taste of what Aberdeen is about, the growth and the new businesses and the new population as we see an expansion of the population here locally. So I thought about what were mainly the 3 things that would make me the best candidate for this position. And so first of all, as I stated, I've lived in the area for 56 years, and I've seen this town grow from a small community to just a shopping hub, a shopping and dining hub. A lot of my friends come here weekly to shop and to eat, and so it's just a nice place to live. It has a small town feeling, Aberdeen does, but yet we've also seen that with the growth that we have a lot to offer, new businesses that are moving into the area, and the schools are changing. So we know there's going to be things for the businesses to look to as they come in an area. My past being working with the school system, we know when new businesses come into an area, the first things they look at are your schools. Right. They want to make sure their children are going to get a good education, and I think we've got a variety here with the charter schools, the public schools, and even some of the private schools, not in Aberdeen necessarily, but very close proximity where they can get to them quickly. And so that's one thing I think that Aberdeen is going to just keep continuing to grow by leaps and bounds. As we grow, we realize that we want to grow wisely, because just growing and putting businesses places is not necessarily what we want. But we feel like that with our new UDOs that we've just rewritten, we're going to be able to be more particular about what we see popping up here in Aberdeen. We just can't let everything come. We don't want to become a huge city, but we do want to see positive growth. It's going to be aesthetically meshing with what we already have in our community. We don't want just houses going up everywhere, but we do want people to come because they want the same lifestyle my husband and I came here. I guess if I had to say that I represented any particular block of people, I guess I would more relate to like the retirement community, and that's another area that's really grown here, along with the military, because the military has found housing here because we offer a very pleasant lifestyle, and taxes are low right now, and we want to keep them low. That's something I'd like to continue to do here. With our contractors coming in, we want to make sure that they are building things that will be in the best interest of all the town members. The second thing I'd like to be a part of is the new school that's coming to fruition. We know we're building a new school out on Highway 5. Old schools are not conducive to good learning for children. As an educator of 35 years, I know that children need to be environments that are going to encourage them and motivate them to learn. We want to stay on the cutting edge of education. We want Moore County to be one of the school systems that is up there with the top schools in the state of North Carolina. So I want to be a part of that school transition, and I want to be able to be part of the ribbon cutting for that new school.
Great.
And the last thing, I guess, were you going to ask me a
No,
question?
no, go right ahead.
I guess the last thing, beside being an educator, being an asset to the community, I've gone through several realignments when I was in Richmond County, and we know that that's a process that's sometimes not very positive for parents. They don't like to take their schools out of the schools that are in the community. But we're going to have a great school. It's going to be a beautiful school, and we know we can dispel any negative feedback that's come about as a result of the school and any of the issues that we've kind of seen and read the news. But once they see our new school, they're going to be very happy. And last, I'd like to be a part of, once that school is actually sold, hopefully we can buy that school and we can use that as a resource for our recreational facilities and maybe even some cultural facilities. I'd like to see a community theater possibly come in, have some more performances and things like that here in Aberdeen, not just in the upper part of the county. When my husband and I participate in cultural events, we have to go to Pinehurst or Southern Pines. We want Aberdeen to be one of the areas we can attract that cultural diversity.
Teresa Beavers, thanks so much for coming in and sharing some of your thoughts, and good luck on Election Day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Our second candidate for Board of Commissioners is a past guest on the show, Bryan Bowles. He was you ran actually 2 years ago last time.
2017. Yes, sir.
And only came up 89 votes short.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're here to make that right.
I'd like to make it right this time. I'm hoping to put a win in the column.
There you go. Tell us, because every year we get new people moving into the area, so you're also speaking to a new audience. Give us a little bit of your background, your vision for Aberdeen, your reasons for running, your inspirations, et cetera, et cetera.
I moved here back in May of 1999, raised my family here. Daughter attended school here. Got involved with the Town of Aberdeen around 2016, probably around 2015 actually, when a subdivision was going in behind my neighborhood. Excuse me. And got involved there, and then decided to submit my application for the planning board. Got appointed by the Board of Commissioners to the Planning Board of Aberdeen, so I've been on that since 2016. Was vice chair 2 years. Now I'm actually chair of the planning board, which if elected to commissioner, I'll have to resign that position. But we've got some good people on the board that'll keep that momentum going. The planning board has seen a lot of growth in Aberdeen, and we've done a real good job with the staff, working with staff to try to keep that growth in the right direction. We've seen downtown Aberdeen being protected. We've seen a lot of storefronts become stores in my tenure as on the planning board. So Aberdeen's growing. We want to make sure it grows in a great path and a nice smooth path, but not too fast. Part of my platform is we want to protect our infrastructure, which is our roads, our sewer, our water lines, to make sure we're not overworking that with our new growth that's coming into Aberdeen. We've approved a lot of the new subdivisions up on Highway 5, especially around the new school. 2 years ago, the school, the school site was one of the big issues 2 years ago that our current mayor was pushing for, which we finally got. So we want to make sure that stays. And gets developed like it's supposed to. We just approved a nice home subdivision, mixed-use subdivision around the school, so that's going to be a nice draw for Aberdeen. And again, we just need to protect Aberdeen, make sure we're going in the right direction, we keep the growth going, make sure it's controlled growth and not overgrowth. Work with our town officials. Like I said, I've been working closely with town staff. Being on the planning board, we just approved recommended approval as the planning board to the Board of Commissioners for the approval of our UDO, which will be coming up at the end of November. It'll be on the Board of Commissioners table to approve or make recommendations to change or whatever they want to do with it at that time. But we're hoping it's going to get approved. I think it's going to be a great asset to Aberdeen because it hasn't been rewritten in many, many years. So I really encourage anybody out there that's involved in the construction side, the development side, to come in and really listen, give their input, because that'll be one of the last points. My background in engineering, land development, has given me a different side, a different point of view for the Board of Commissioners. And that's why I want to bring to the Board of Commissioners is that different point of view, because nobody on the planning board has the knowledge from the developer to contractor side that I have, working with them for over 22 years. And so I want to bring that to the Board of Commissioners and bring my expertise there on that side to try to help the board understand some of the stuff that the contractors and the developers and landowners are trying to express. Because some of the terminology on the construction side, if you're not from that field, is a little hard to understand. Mm-hmm. So, and I hear it a lot from my constituents on the planning board. I kind of explain what our planner's saying and what the developer's saying when they bring in the plans, and they kind of get a lot more out of it. So I'm hoping I've taught some of the things that they can carry on if I'm elected to the commissioner side. Hopefully they can carry that on and use some of my statements and some of my explanations to help them with future projects.
Sounds like you have the ability to convert technical language into layman's language so that everybody can understand.
Yes, sir. When I first went into the engineering field and went to work for the company I work for now, I used to write very technically on my letters and stuff to clients, and my boss said, "You got to not do that.
Right.
Let's put it in layman's terms."
Right.
So I've tried to use that statement.
Talk to me like I'm a second grader.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I've taken that advice into heart, and I apply it to real life when I go out to talk to people.
Well, that's great. Bryan, thanks for coming in. A lot of content. Appreciate it. Good luck on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our third candidate for Board of Commissioners is Adriana Janker? Janker. Yes. But your full name is Adriana Marquez Janker.
Yes.
This is your first time running.
This is my first time.
For Board of Commissioners, and you have 2 children.
I do.
4 and 7.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, your reasons for running. You obviously have put down roots in Aberdeen. How long have you lived here?
We are going on 8 years.
Okay. That qualifies as a local.
Right. I hope so.
Yeah. And your vision for Aberdeen.
We got to Aberdeen about going on 8 years ago now. My husband and I were prior Air Force, joined the military right out of high school, served 8 years active duty, 4 years in the reserves, started having a family, and just realized that I couldn't, juggle everything. So I left the reserves. I now work on Fort Bragg as an IT specialist. I manage IT contract for the U.S. Army Special Operations Command. So I've maintained my military ties through that as a government employee now. We came to Aberdeen, and we immediately fell in love with it. The small town charm of it. It's quiet. People are very friendly and inviting and warm. So we felt right at home. My daughters quickly made friends. Our neighborhood is full of kids. There's kids outside all the time, so It's a great neighborhood. Everybody's nice. Everyone, is friendly. We feel very comfortable here. Right. So I initially, a couple of years ago, started getting involved with the community. I coordinated the free little library that's in Aberdeen Lake Park now. It's a little red free little library. So it's neat to see that there's books there constantly. Kids, when we go to the park, we see kids going out there taking books out. My girls bring books out there, fill in the library. And so that kind of piqued my interest to see, how the town runs, what the town does for us as, residents. So I heard of the Citizens Academy program. And I completed that, and that, just heightened my interest in, the town. So I am a member of the Parks and Recs Advisory Board currently. So I'm involved with that. I attend the town board meetings as pretty regularly. So I try to stay informed. I have met a lot of really great people in Aberdeen, attending different events, introducing myself, and just getting different perspectives from people that have been born and raised here in Aberdeen and have been here their whole lives, and from people that are transplants like myself, and what they think about the town. And
I have to ask. I mean, in a lot of ways, you represent the new demographic of Moore County.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we're really involved in, we do the recreational sports with our children. So during those, t-ball, kickball, those volleyball, those events, we participate in those with our girls. And we meet all kinds of different people coming from Southern Pines, Pinehurst, Pine Bluff, because Aberdeen is now they're catering to, families with small children. So that is, a pride point for me, because hey, everybody's Aberdeen is this place to be for, the small kids. You want things to do with your kids. So that has been really great for us. I do want to see how we can get the community more involved in town business. I want to see how we can have more attendance at the town board meetings. Those happen twice a month, and the attendance is pretty sparse. So I want to make sure that the residents of Aberdeen are knowledgeable on how town business directly affects you. So I want to see how they can get more involved in events and board meetings, because their voice does matter. You come out, you don't like something you hear, or you don't like something the town is doing, that is your forum to address those with the people that make the decisions on your behalf. So getting that community outreach, getting the community involvement, and making sure that everyone is on the same page with what's going on in your own backyard. And also making Aberdeen more attractive to small business owners. We want to fill up those empty storefronts in downtown Aberdeen. We want to, make it easier for small businesses to come to Aberdeen and plant roots there. I also want to focus on our services with our growth that we're having, make sure that our services are maintained for current residents, and to also make sure that we are extending it to accommodate the new growth, but we're also not, extending our fire department, our police department too thin with the new growth that's coming in.
We've spoken to Bryan before and a couple of other people from Aberdeen, and we talk all the time about how Aberdeen has evolved and changed.
Yes.
It's become younger.
Yes.
The downtown area has become more vibrant.
Right.
There's a whole new spirit that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Correct.
Yeah.
And with that, I want to see how we can streamline the processes for the town, how we can make things easier. Everybody wants information at their fingertips, and they're not getting that right now. I mean, the town is starting their whole social media campaign, and they're getting out there, and they're putting our events out on social media. But as far as town business goes, how can we make that better? There's always room to make things better and enhance that experience. So that's kind of I want to see where we can be better.
Okay. Adriana Janker, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. Good luck on Tuesday. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. The fourth candidate, Elease Goodwin, who is an incumbent, could not be here. So the four of you will be, your names will appear on the ballot for the Board of Commissioners this Tuesday, and I hope people get out to vote.
Thank you. I do too.
It was a pleasure. We'll be back in the next set, and we'll be speaking with the candidates for office in Whispering Pines. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We're shifting gears. We spoke with the candidates in Aberdeen for Election Day, and we're going to be spending our time the rest of the show with the candidates in Whispering Pines running for Town Council. Election Day is November the 5th, and we just wanted to give every candidate who is available an opportunity to come in and sort of give us their Cliff Notes version of their overviews, their perceptions, their vision, their inspirations, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to start the second set with Tim Venjohn, who is running for Town Council, and from what I understand, it is It's an unexpired term that will end in 2021. So
Correct.
it's a 2-year term. And Tim, we've been asking everyone who's running to talk a little bit about, how they got here, their inspirations, their motivations, some of their issues, the things that they feel are most important to the people who live in Whispering Pines. So I'll say good morning and thanks for joining us.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me here. I've been on your show before and I love it. So, but as far as that was a long question with a lot of things. But how I got here, if I go way back, I grew up in South Dakota on a farm, and my dad had a salvage yard, so I've got all that history. Grew up, I was collecting eggs at 5 and milking cows at 8, so it was fun. But I joined the Army, spent 4 years in the Army, and ended up my last 3 years at Fort Bragg. When I got out of Fort Bragg, I went to Sand Hills Community College, and I've lived in southern Moore County ever since then. So I moved to Moore County in '89, so I guess that's 30 years ago. And I moved to Whispering Pines area the year after I got married. So I got married in '95, so I was there in '96. And by 97, I was on the Planning and Zoning Board for Whispering Pines. And I spent 16 years on that board. And it was great. It was just a great group of guys to work with. And we got a lot done. We did a lot of important things in those years that I was there. And then historically, I always serve. It's just what I do. I've been doing real estate for 17 years. And that's what I do is I help people meet their needs. They either are looking to buy a house or looking to sell a house, something like that. Before that, I worked at Bill Smith Ford, and I spent 10 years there. And I always tell people, you're crazy if you're trying to sell a car. Everybody who walks in the door either wants one or needs one. All you have to do is help them and show them how to meet their needs. They're going to get a car. And that's my life story has always been helping people. So in organizations, I've done so many things. I just look for things where I can contribute and be productive and make a difference. And, if somebody brings something to me and says, hey, Tim, can you help there? That's what I do. So I spent time, I was chairman of the parish council a couple times at Sacred Heart and did several projects there, helped put lay ministries in place. And this is over a decade ago, and they've been doing that ever since and going to many different countries, and that's awesome. And then I'm past president of the Association of Realtors, past president of the MLS. I was legislative chair for 12 of the 17 years on the legislative committee, and in the Leadership Academy for the state of North Carolina for realtors, and served at the state level on the legislative committee. And legislatively, I've always been involved, and nearly every year since I've been in real estate, I go to D.C. every year to meet those guys, talk about private property issues and those kind of things that just need to help the public. And I've got great relationships, even at the state level and the county level, to where I've got representatives. I've had senators from D.C. walk in my office, talk to me, and I've had the guys in Raleigh will call me up and say, hey, Tim, they're proposing this on surveys. How does this affect real estate and some of the things you see going on? And it gives us a chance to look at it and say, hey, that's a great idea, but it'll also implement this, so you might want to consider that also. So the relationship I've got from all the way down to up is great, and lots of leadership experience. And what I'm excited about is we've got a whole fresh team here. We're going to have Bob, and I've known Bob ever since he started there. So I was on zoning board when he started, and he's been a fixture in Whispering Pines for a very long time. And now we're going to have 4 new members. And there are some people there that I think really have a genuine interest and great hearts with a great purpose to help that. And the one thing that I've always done well is work with a team. If we can put a team together to where we look at the issues that come across us, say, hey, what's in the best interest of the village? How can we make this work for everybody? It's just a win-win. And I love doing that kind of stuff. And it's kind of funny. I had one guy ask me, if my wife supported me in doing this. And I'm like, well, gosh, my wife expects me to do that. In fact, she's been encouraging me to do this kind of stuff for a long time. But I've always got a project. So, I'm currently president of the PTA at Union Pines. I'm on the Parent Advisory Council for the school board. And I had a meeting with them last night that was good and productive. We got great information. And then the lacrosse team we several years ago, they said, hey, we'd like to have a Union Pines lacrosse team. I said, hey, I've got the facility and team. We got some adults together. We created an organization. And this year, we legitimately have a women's lacrosse team, which is pretty exciting.
Yep.
Next year, we expect to have a men's. But, my contribution to Whispering Pines is if I'm elected, I'll work hard. I bring a lot of experience. I work well with people. I'm a solution-oriented person. You show me an issue, and I've just got that creative mind to say, okay, well, if this is the issue, then what resources can we bring to bear to come to a resolution? So anyways, those are...
In closing, real quick, I just want to ask some of the top 2 or 3 issues that are most of concern to you.
Well, fortunately, Whispering Pines is very stable, and we're in a great spot. As far as issues, I guess I don't look at them as issues because they're the normal things we have to do.
Okay.
Like we have to take care of our dams. We have to control our taxes. We've got some erosion control issues. Those are all things that we've got to take in normal course of business. I don't believe there's anything out there where we have to show up and say, we're going to change this or we're going to do this.
Okay.
We've got a great space, and everybody there loves being there. We all merge together, whether it's young, old, or in between. We're there for the same purpose. We all love what Whispering Pines has to offer between the community, how friendly everyone is, the lakes, the ponds. It's just a great place to be.
Great.
And that's why I'm there. That's why they're there. And if we can just maintain it being a great place, and that's what I'm hoping to do, and be part of that.
Tim Venjohn, thanks for coming and joining us. Good luck on Tuesday.
Absolutely. I love coming here. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Tim. Our next guest is Alexa Roberts, who is running for council first time, I believe.
First time running. I'm currently on council.
And currently on council, and I just found out from Brooklyn, New York.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to pose the same questions to you, and naturally I want to find out how you got here from Brooklyn, but to talk a little bit about your overview of the issues, your visions for Whispering Pines, your inspirations, and any ties to the local community that you want to share with people.
Sure. Well, I went, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Thank God.
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
I did go to college in the Bronx,
It's okay.
so I have to represent the boroughs now.
Okay.
But after college, I joined AmeriCorps, National Civilian Community Corps, and I was assigned to a defunct Air Force Base, Lowry Air Force Base, out in Aurora, Colorado. And so I traveled around the country doing community service projects in the areas of education, environment, public safety. And then I did a second tour as a leader, and I started a junior corps members where I did literacy programs across Colorado. So I took middle school age and high school age students with learning disabilities, and we taught them how to tutor elementary age students with similar academic issues. And we did public and community partnerships and got some grant money, and we did all sorts of fun stuff and established a long-range literacy plan for Jefferson County, Colorado. After that, I am kind of a rogue, I guess. I flipped through an atlas with my eyes closed and randomly put my finger down on the page, and I said, wherever I land closest to a major university, I'm moving. And I ended up in Indiana, go figure, Bloomington, Indiana. From there, I started working with developmental disability services, and I fell in love with a little boy who had autism, and his family was considering moving. One of the places they were thinking about moving to was North Carolina, so I started looking into North Carolina, and another coworker friend of mine wanted to do equine therapy and wanted to do it at St. Andrews. So we moved to North Carolina together, and she finished her school and left, and I stayed, and I adore it here. I moved to Moore County in the summer of '99, where it was the hottest day of the year. Moved into a house to discover I didn't have a refrigerator or air conditioning or even a stove. But we lived through that and managed to get into Whispering Pines 4 years ago.
Okay.
So I have worked and lived all around Moore County for the 20 years I've been here. And it was always my goal to get a house in Whispering Pines. And 4 years ago, my husband and I moved, and we love our little house. We live on a street in Whispering Pines that is, I think, representative of Whispering Pines as a whole. We have people of all ages and family makeups on our street. We have little off streets, so there's like 4 streets. We are our own little tight community. We get together for holidays, and we have block parties, and it's the most joyous thing. I have been very involved in the schools since my daughter is 8 years old, and she was at St. Hills Farm Life during the major overcrowding issue, so I got involved with advocacy there and involved in the PTA. Last year, I was PTA president after having been PTA treasurer, and I was also the chair of the Parent Advisory Council to the county. And it was an interesting thing to me because I got to know our mayor, Michelle Lexo. She was constantly advocating for the students that live in Whispering Pines. And when I saw her resignation, I was very sad because I thought, who is going to take care of our kids at this point? Because I go to a lot of county commissioner meetings, I go to Board of Education meetings, and I never saw anybody from Whispering Pines besides Mayor Lexo. So when she was gone, I felt like maybe that was my time to step in. And so I applied to fill her vacant seat. I was unanimously appointed to the board, to the council. And so that was in March. And I have spent probably every waking moment, my poor family. They have been so supportive through the whole thing. My in-laws moved here last April. My mom just moved here this past May, right across the street. My in-laws are up the street. My mom's are right across the street.
That's how it is in Brooklyn.
So, and it works out great because now I have ample babysitting options to allow me to do a good job of working on the village council. So I'm spend a lot of time learning all of the laws and the rules and trying to do things of, everything that I'm supposed to know to do.
You've been here long enough to sense and see the demographic shifts that have gone on and how Whispering Pines has changed, and they've caught that demographic shift big time, haven't they?
Well, I think, I talked to a lot of folks that have lived in Whispering Pines since the 70s, and they're telling me that when they got there in the 70s, it was young families. And then it shifted to trying to recruit some older, retired, 55 and older kind of folks because it was a resort community. There were a lot of people coming for golfing.
Right.
So the people that were living there full time ended up being the younger families. And the retired age folks were the ones who were like the snowbirds. They were coming down for the golfing seasons. And over time, it morphed into people retiring here. And then people's kids started visiting them and they said, this is a great place to raise my kids. So we had younger kids moving to be closer to their retired families. And now we're seeing the reverse of that. We see the younger families moving in, the military folks, and bringing in their families. My family's not military currently, but we brought our family here because it's so beautiful and so wonderful.
Right.
We are a wonderful residential neighborhood area, and we have amenities for all. We have beautiful golf courses that are well maintained and well attended. We have 8 beautiful lakes that offer, boating, fishing, beaches, and we are a small, tight-knit group. We have a group of volunteers throughout Whispering Pines that make the village work. So,
Alexa Roberts, thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming in. Good luck on Tuesday.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Our third candidate running for council in Whispering Pines is Pamela Harris, who I met way back in 2004. So I already know that she's been here, 15 years with her family. And maybe she was the beginning of that demographic shift that we were referencing when we were speaking with Alexa Roberts. Pam, thanks for coming and joining us. And I want to kind of ask you the same thing, just to talk about why you're running for council, your inspirations. 15 years in Whispering Pines is a long time. It's given you a lot of good vantage points from which to process information. And this is your first time running.
It is.
Well, good morning.
Thank you. So I moved out here in December of 2004. I had recently married somebody who was in the military.
That's right.
Previous to that, I had been a single mother. Keith asked me to marry him and to move to North Carolina with him. So we went out to Fort Bragg and were house hunting. And then he said, well, let's go visit David and Terry Blades out in Whispering Pines, North Carolina. So we went out to have dinner with them. On our drive out here, I thought to myself, this is the most beautiful place I have ever seen. Wow, I could live out there. And Terry said, oh, we know this man by the name of Bill Sahadi. Why don't you give him an afternoon to show you some homes out our way? So we did. We actually didn't find anything. We went back home, which is in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, Bill, you caught back up with us and you said, hey, I found a house for you guys. And so we put an offer on a house sight unseen, took your word for it, and moved out here. I have loved living every minute out here. Basically, when we moved, I gave up my career, as before I had worked for New Mexico State University's Cooperative Extension Service as an extension agent, which basically you're working in the community. You work throughout the whole county, and you go and you find out the needs of the citizens in the community, and you go back to the university, you find out who the resources are, and you go and put on programs in the community based on those needs. I did that for 10 years, and then I had taken a job for New Mexico's Children, Youth, and Families Department as one of 3 staff managers overseeing childcare for the entire state of New Mexico. My responsibilities there were basically I was writing the policies, the procedures, the regulations. I was in charge of training the entire licensing and childcare assistant staff. When we left New Mexico, I said, you know what, it's time to have a little bit of a break from work and to stay home and focus on my children. When we moved to Whispering Pines, it was the most beautiful place to raise children. Although I personally felt like we were babies that had moved here. We were in our 40s, and I felt like a baby because it was all retirees, but we were so welcomed, and I loved that. My daughter took up horse riding, and my son took up golf. Perfect place to raise children. Our neighbors, it was a community. If they wanted to babysit, if they needed help, we could help them. And that's what kept us here. After we'd been here 3.5 years, Keith came home and said, Pam, I turned in my retirement papers. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I know how much you love it here. I knew I couldn't get you to move somewhere else with me. And we're gonna stay here. So he took on another position out at Fort Bragg as a GS, and he's been there since. So I've been a stay-at-home mom, raising my children, which I love, but now they're 19 and 22. In the last 2 years, I have realized and seen all the development going on in my area, which has caused me to go to the council meetings to keep an eye on what's going on because I'm concerned about the development going on in the area. My kids can take care of themselves now, so that gives me time. I talk to a lot of people on the phone. I've kind of become a resource that people call me and they say, I haven't been able to go to the council meeting. Can you please tell me what's going on? So I will fill them in. Well, this happened and that happened, but you really need to ask for a recording of the meeting, or you need to be there yourself so that you know, and you need to learn to speak up. So I feel like I've been active in our community, getting to people to learn that you need to go to the meetings because you have 5 people that are up on that council, and you are putting all of your faith into them that they're doing the right thing for your community. And if you're not there sitting in the room to know what's going on, then shame on you. For example, people were upset about the Dollar Tree. Why did they approve a Dollar Tree? Well, there was nobody in the audience that spoke up otherwise, so you weren't there to speak up, and how can a council say we're not going to approve a Dollar Tree when nobody spoke up against it? So that's kind of why I'm there, because of some of the issues like that.
Wonderful. There are, I appreciate your time, and it's good to see you. And in fairness, we do want to say there are other candidates who are running who were not able to join us today on council, and they'll appear on the ballot. Glenn Bernhard, Joe Wincklhofer, Andy Conway, Neil Godfrey, Dean Kalles, and Denise Racey. I don't think I've missed anybody. So there's a lot of interest overall in Whispering Pines, and there's a very proactive population. And Whispering Pines is growing, and it seems like one of the constant themes with all the races have had to do with growth and how to inspire controlled growth, fiscally responsible and otherwise. We want to thank you for coming and joining us. We're going to come back, Dorothy, in the third set, and we're going to recap. We've spoken now to Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Aberdeen, and Whispering Pines, and gotten a lot of candidates talking about a lot of their passions and a lot of the issues that affect the municipalities that they live in. This is All Things Moore County.